Imagine this. In the dead silence of the frontier, a single whisper cuts through the night, and in that moment, a man's entire life is put to the test. A lonely rancher. A runaway Apache girl. One decision that could cost him everything. Or give his life new meaning. This isn't just a Wild West story, it's a clash between fear and humanity. If you enjoy powerful, emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this video, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your support helps keep these stories alive. The whisper came from the cottonwoods just as the sun slipped behind the hills. May I stay tonight? The voice was soft, almost swallowed by the wind. Yet it froze Elijah Boone where he stood. His hand tightened around the fence post. Every instinct sharpened by years of solitude and survival. He turned slowly, eyes narrowing, scanning the shadows near the creek. A single step forward revealed her, young, thin, Apache. Standing as if ready to flee or fall apart at the same time. He had faced stampedes and gunfire. But this quiet request unsettled him far more. Elijah had lived alone long enough to distrust silence that spoke back. The prairie had taught him that nothing appeared without reason. He studied her carefully, noting the torn hem of her dress, the dried blood on her forearm, the exhaustion she could no longer hide. She did not beg. She did not cry. She only waited. Years ago, Elijah might have turned away without thinking. But something in her eyes carried a weight he recognized. The look of someone with nowhere left to go. Night crept in fast, bringing a chill that cut through bone. Elijah glanced at the horizon, then back at the girl. Leaving her outside meant condemning her to the cold, maybe worse. Letting her stay meant inviting trouble into a life he had spent a decade keeping sealed shut. "You can't stay out here," he finally said, his voice rough. Relief flickered across her face, quickly replaced by uncertainty. She hesitated. Then asked the question that cornered him more than any threat ever could. "So, where do I sleep?" The ranch house stood a short walk away. Weathered and lonely, much like its owner. Inside, Elijah lit the oil lamp, its glow filling the room with warm shadows. The girl hovered near the door, unsure of her place. He gestured toward the table and set food in front of her without ceremony. Hunger stripped away her hesitation. And she ate quietly, carefully, as if afraid the moment might vanish. Elijah watched, not with suspicion now, but with something closer to concern. A feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years. They exchanged names with caution. Like men laying down weapons before a truce. Naya. The name stayed with him. When the question of sleep returned, it hung heavier than before. Elijah offered the bed. She refused. Pride met pride until they reached a simple agreement: shared space, separate ground. As the fire crackled low, Elijah lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar rhythm of another presence in his home. The walls felt different, less hollow. And that realization unsettled him more than danger ever had. Before dawn, he heard her whispering in her sleep, words shaped by fear and memory. By morning, she was awake, quietly sweeping, trying to earn the space she occupied. Days passed, and Naya did not leave. She worked without being asked. Moved with the awareness of someone raised by the land itself. Elijah noticed how she studied the sky, how she listened beyond sound. Against his will, routine returned to the ranch. Warmer, fuller, and far more dangerous. When the riders finally appeared at the fence line, Elijah knew the silence had ended. Soldiers carried questions, and questions carried consequences. Naya stepped forward before he could stop her, calm in a way that broke him. He realized then that letting her stay had already changed everything. The choice was no longer about shelter or kindness. It was about who he was willing to be when the world came knocking. The sergeant's eyes hardened as Naya stepped fully into view. Her posture calm, almost defiant. The soldiers shifted in their saddles, hands resting near their rifles. The air tightening like a pulled rope. Elijah felt it then, the moment when a man realizes there is no safe choice left, only the one he can live with. Placing himself forward, slightly in front of her, close enough that his presence spoke for him. "She's under my roof," he said evenly. "That means the sergeant laughed. This isn't about orders or humorous." He took a step closer, boots crunching against the gravel. She belongs
Naya's
on the
voice
reservation.
cut through the tension, steady and clear.
I do not belong to a fence. Her words carried no anger, only truth.
And that unsettled the soldiers more than shouting ever could.
Elijah glanced at her, seeing not a frightened girl now, but someone who had already survived the worst the world could offer. The wind shifted. From the hills came a sound low and distant, like thunder rolling across dry land. Elijah's eyes lifted first. The sergeant noticed a heartbeat later. Dark shapes crested the ridge, horses, riders, moving with purpose and speed. Apache warriors. The prairie seemed to hold its breath. Shouts erupted. Soldiers scrambled, some raising rifles, others backing away. In the confusion, Naya grabbed Elijah's arm. "Now," she said, urgency sharp in her whisper. There was no time to think. He swung onto his horse, pulled her up behind him, and kicked hard. Gunshots cracked the air as they tore across the grass, dust and fear chasing them both. They rode until the land swallowed the noise. Until the only sound left was the horses' labored breath and their own hearts pounding in rhythm. When they finally stopped, night had claimed the sky. Stars scattered like ash across black velvet. Elijah slid from the saddle. Hands shaking, not from fear alone, but from the weight of what he had just abandoned. His ranch. His solitude. The life he thought was fixed. By the fire, Naya spoke at last. She told him of her family, scattered or gone, of forced marches and broken promises. She spoke of a people who refused to vanish quietly. Elijah listened without interrupting, every word cutting deeper than any bullet. He saw now that letting her stay had never been a small kindness. It had been a choice with a cost he was only beginning to understand. "You can turn back," she said when the fire burned low. "This path is not yours unless you choose it." Elijah stared into the flames. Seeing his empty house, the worn table. The quiet nights he once believed were enough. Then he looked at Naya, at the strength carved into someone so young, and felt something shift inside him. "I already chose," he replied softly. "I just didn't know it at the time." They traveled with her people for days, moving through canyons and hidden valleys where the land itself offered